If the U.S. defaults on its debt next week, China could be the big beneficiary, making a case that the U.S. is no longer a safe bet, no longer a world leader of finance. Illinois Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi is the top Democrat on the House China Select Committee and joins me now. Thank you very much, Congressman. It's good to see you again. So,
thank you, Andrea.
How much could President Xi take advantage of a default?
Oh, he would actually exploit it to the max. He and his comrades are cheering and applauding what they view to be economic chaos unfolding here in the U.S. And if a default were to occur, they would use it for two ways. One, they would try to explain to people that the U.S. economy is not a safe bet for their investments. And two, it would be a huge propaganda win for them, which they would amplify around the world, showing that just the way that we govern ourselves doesn't work. And instead, people should opt for their system of governance, which is much more authoritarian.
Democracy is just so messy, isn't it? I say,
that's exactly
ironically.
Right. They would basically, look, Xi Jinping has made it very clear that he wants the People's Republic of China to lead the world in, quote, comprehensive economic influence. And this would absolutely play right into his hands. He couldn't have scripted it better.
Now, how big a problem is it that China owns, what, at least $1 trillion, close to $1 trillion in U.S. debt?
Sure, and those securities would be impaired in value were we to default on our debt. But that is a hit that they would be willing to take, Andrea, because for them, the long-term goal in their competition with the U.S. is to basically do whatever it takes to undermine U.S. influence, undermine the U.S. economy, and undermine the influence of the U.S. dollar and anything that is denominated in terms of the dollar, including the payment system, which dominates the world, whether it's for oil or other products that even the Chinese need to pay in dollars for.
And we saw that TikTok has now filed a lawsuit against the state of Montana over the First Amendment grounds over that new law banning the social media app. Could a legal victory for TikTok strengthen their position as lawmakers are pushing for more bans on social media?
It could, but I think that the bigger issue is that I think TikTok and ByteDance still have a lot of explaining to do at the national level with regard to ByteDance being beholden to the Chinese Communist Party. As you know, a recent whistleblower came out, and another lawsuit involving a former employee also revealed that, basically ByteDance is very much tied into the CCP. In fact, there's a CCP cell embedded within ByteDance, and the secretary of that cell is the editor-in-chief of ByteDance. And so those are facts that they are having a hard time dealing with. I think that there should be a forced sale of of TikTok in the United States. I don't think that there should necessarily be a ban. But obviously, the Biden administration is now working with us on legislation to give them the authority to make that a reality.
And today, a Russian court extended Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich's pretrial detention through the end of August. We've heard little regarding any progress toward a possible release, and they've also denied access by our State Department officials, the ambassador, for the last 2 weeks. What do you make of this?
Well, as we talked about a few weeks ago, unfortunately in Russia, journalism is now a crime. Free speech, criticizing the Russian government, including Vladimir Putin, is a crime. I have criticized Vladimir Putin on numerous occasions, and for that I've been banned from Russia. So I have to explain to my wife we're not taking a vacation in Siberia anytime soon, Andrea. But on a more serious note, Americans should not travel to Russia because they're going to do potentially to them exactly what they did to Gershkovich, which is try to use them as a bargaining chip in the big power politics with the U.S. We have to do everything we can to win his freedom, and I think that the Biden administration is doing that right now.
Congressman Raja Krishnamoorthi, thank you very much.